Great. Good morning, everybody. I apologize for my delay in getting this to you. I just wanted to make some adjustments to the directions, actually reviewing them. Some of the stuff was still tied back to when I was teaching this class face to face. So I had to make some adjustments. I apologize about the delay, but let's get into it. You are approaching the last bit of the semester, and what you need to do now is design an eco-friendly neighborhood. And so what you're going to need to do, I'll have these directions up and ready to go, is again, we have now moved through, theoretically, I can grab it, our book, right? We have covered all of the different concepts. We have moved through, well, we are coming down the pipeline, I should say, into the final aspects of the course. And I'm sure as you're seeing, the final aspects of the course really are related back to how do we maintain management? How do we create sustainability such that nature and us continue to play in the same space together for the benefit of both? Even if we were still running around out in the forests, right, we would still have to figure out a way to nook ourselves into the food web, into the resource availability, into the resource sharing. So again, what you're going to be doing here is taking some of the concepts that have related to how we have to think about an urban space within the context of ecology. And then now we're kind of coming back out to the other side of it, and really thinking about kind of conservation and maintenance and sustainability and advocacy, right? Which is going to be really important. And we've already done a little bit of that because you guys have done your NGO projects. Um, and hopefully, again, through some of the discussion boards, there's kind of continued to be this theme of how do humans play in these spaces and how do we continue to understand what nature is doing for us and vice versa. So what you're going to do, you're going to look over and decide an area that you would want to design an eco-friendly neighborhood. Okay, so there's two major components to this, worth 100 points in total. The first is writing up a 3-page-ish, incorporating the aspects here that I'll talk about just very briefly in just a moment, that give me an understanding of your urban space design. Now, instead of just randomly having you go out and throw things at the wall, what I have decided to do is give you a breakdown, of course, what I want inside this paper related to the concepts, right? So as you'll see, right, you're going to give me an overview and an introduction. Where is your neighborhood? Why are you choosing this particular area? It could be something close, near, and dear to you. It could be something that you visited in DFW and you thought, wow, this would be kind of cool if I could live over here and what that neighborhood would look like. But then you're going to start to incorporate some of these broader themes, right? So first and foremost, we've touched very heavily upon green spaces, green roofs, green infrastructure, green, right? And that the idea of those green spaces helps to keep and or introduce biodiversity into our city through the maintenance of native flora and fauna, or we are trying to attract native flora and fauna. Maybe we want to restore a brown site back to its original, you know, prairie or native land, right? Maybe we want to put back in forest. Maybe we want to kind of reestablish in and around a lake area. All of that to be said, you are going to incorporate some of these things, right? And you're going to talk about some of the green space you would want to have in there. Maybe it is just a park. Maybe it's aspects of roofing. Maybe it's that you want your neighborhood to have certain components that relate specifically to, they all have to have green roofs. Whatever you want to justify on that. The biggest thing here is that you will need to include, at minimum, one native flora and one native fauna that will either be attracted to and benefit, or that again is beneficial in maintaining. Because again, you guys just did the whole interview your family. Did you know what nature can give you for free? Something that will help you to maintain the area and, creating that sustainability for it. So as far as native, what do I mean? In this context, I have an understanding that maybe some of you could be in a completely different state, but for us, because of where we are, you're going to be looking at native flora and fauna for our state, maybe particularly within inside of the DFW area, just to make it easier for you to search. Now, statewide, right? Things that are native to Texas, that's going to be pretty standard, pretty easy to be able to navigate. But maybe you'll find out that there's actually flora and fauna that are native just to our particular area. That is at the very minimum what you need to incorporate here. Then you'll talk about, again, sustainable housing. We've talked about building material. We've talked about veto effect. We've talked about energy reduction. We've talked about, how do we reduce energy costs? You're going to incorporate aspects there, right? And each one of these, I've tried to break out a little bit further into some of the questions you should be thinking about. So again, you're not having to throw things at the wall, but back to your book. Your book has the layout for these things, right? And this may help you to be able to go and find that research that's going to support this. Water management, we've talked extensively about water management runoff. We've talked about, watersheds, water tables. How do things affect, downstream? How is upstream effects affecting downstream effects? And, how is maintenance of that? How are you going to maintain? If you're talking about your green roofs and you're talking about your green sites, maybe you want to talk about rain barrels, maybe you want to talk about other things. Transportation and mobility, how we design the corridors between us and nature, how we are going to utilize that in making sure that we have walkability, that we have, again, a part of that walkability is incorporating nature. And again, you're not designing a city, you're just designing, are you creating walking paths? Are you going to put your neighborhood at the center with walking paths and all of your roads that lead into it, on the outskirts? So that the emissions stay towards the outsides of the road of your neighborhood. Get very creative. And again, don't reinvent the wheel here. You can go ask and find and look and see about what this would look like. But you will need to pull from things that the book was telling you, right? Kind of hint, hint, it's sort of in there a little bit as justification, but you need to go get the research to support it, right? That's the biggest thing here. I want to see that you can go out and say, hey, there's some new research that shows actually this is the way, right? Our book is pretty current, but I guarantee you there's been new research upon this. Finally, leading into, again, social and economic sustainability. As you're designing your neighborhood, what are things that we could do to make sure people stay there? How are you maybe going to think about affordable housing? Go to Dallas's website, go to, Fort Worth, go to DFW, go to the state and look at and see how are they trying to maintain people staying in Texas? What are some of the policies, the acts, the provisions? Are they giving more money into green spaces? What's your community engagement? Will you have oh gosh, what's the name of that? A housing board, not a housing board. I know you guys are probably screaming at me right now. I can't think of it. An HOA, right? A lot of neighborhoods in our communities down here have HOAs. HOAs can sometimes be a pain in the butt, but HOAs can be great. They can give you newsletters, they can give you outreach, you can vote on things, right? For maintenance, you could maybe make one of your native plants have to be on everybody's lawn. These are the things to think about. And then, of course, are you going to have anything? Again, please don't give me 18 projects that talk about honey, but again, as part of maybe you're thinking about pollinator plants and you're thinking about honey, maybe that could be something that you could actually use as a resource to integrate back into the sustainability of your physical neighborhood, right? You want to put yourselves on the map. We know that we can drive through neighborhoods and see, voted best house for X. What would be something your house would want to be voted for, or your neighborhood would want to be voted for in relation to, knowing that you're practicing what you preach in the design of your urban space. Okay, research justifications at minimum. At minimum, you should have 3, but probably 3 to 5, right? That's going to be pretty standard. Always go to review papers on this stuff. Review papers do a really nice job of talking about high level things. I guarantee you there is a review paper even about the context of a lot of the things we've been talking about here. Go to the most current one. Urban Ecology Review Paper 2024. See what's out there. Just start there, right? And that may give you some of the other resources you want to go to. 3 pages, right? At minimum, you can go over. You need to include a reference, right? With about 3 to 5 credible sources. And again, why do these things support your design choices? You don't need to put that necessarily in the references. That should be inside of the justification of the research next to these larger themes. Okay, after that, you will submit that first. That will be coming up due next Sunday. So again, I will most likely not be giving you guys a discussion board over Thanksgiving week, but this is time for you to be able to write these things, right? So again, you'll have your discussion board for Monday that's due for this week. But again, after that, I probably will give you guys a pass on not, focus on this. Let's get this done. And then as far as your slide deck presentation, what you will now need to do is take those concepts, you've written the paper, it's ready to go for you, right? Now you're going to take those broader themes and now you're going to creatively, beautifully present. You're going to tell me some beautiful, gorgeous things. You're going to have pictures, you're going to have support. You're going to really show me some really cool things. You're going to sell why I should make a move into your neighborhood. And maybe that could be part of your pitch. Come buy a house here. Let me tell you about all the great things we're doing, right? And so again, title, introduction, the overview, you're basically taking these concepts, but now you're going to really take that synopsis of what you've written and put it into each of these slides because you'll see they have each of the component areas you just wrote about. So the writing probably is always the hardest part for students. You have to put this all together, go find that research, but once it's done, your slide deck is really ready to go. So again, once you do that, you need to have in presentation mode, you need to be practicing, you need to have professionalism, you need to really give me the pitch, right? Less text, more support around what your, the big bulleted points here, pictures, things for me to look at, things that are exciting, things that are engaging. Now, I want to point something out. I have encouraged you to use versions of AI on different projects. I don't want AI to write your paper. That's not what we're doing here. However, please feel free, excuse me, to use AI to maybe help you generate some creative pictures, right? Because now it's going to be based upon how well you actually give the prompt to the AI to create the image that you have in your head. And you may find it's just not getting it right. But the biggest thing I really want to point out here is that if you're using this, right? One, you have to cite it. It's a resource. You didn't generate that. It did. 2, you have to be able to know that the picture is somewhat justifiably clear. We have played around with AI. Some of you have played around with AI and used some of the images in prior presentations. And maybe we weren't really paying attention, but the words get gobbledygooked, right? The images look a little weird and a little off. So that is going to be part of the grade that you will earn. You have to make sure this looks professional. One day in the very, very near future, and I'm sure there are resources we can pay for now in AI, but I'm just telling you to use whatever is free and available. This is kind of the nice point. You can use your creativity to make a unique image just for you based on what you give it as a prompt, right? But rather than just going out and kind of smacking together Google images that we've done in the past, you can also absolutely, create a drawing, create a representation. However, as far as that is concerned, It needs to have the creative component to it. But again, you just need to, be aware of, if we're going to use AI, we have to cite that as far as an image. If we're going to use AI as far as image generation, we have to make sure that the image itself is not warped. If there's language in it, we have to make sure it's correct. If, it's correctly spelled and all of that good stuff. Again, there are lots of different AIs that are out there. You can use them for the creative design of this. Better to than not, right? It's actually going to be probably the most fun component part about this project if you do use AI, because that's the fun part, of saying, what in the world is it going to come up with based on what I have? And then you'll talk to it, right? Just like you did through your prompt writing before. Keep writing new prompts, keep writing new prompts, keep writing new prompts. I want you to become efficient at this in those ways. I don't want you to use it to write your paper. I know that's tempting, but you need to still showcase that you can go out and find research and collectively put that information together, right? Because I can tell you, it's very easy for me to kind of read through some of these things and see the robot writing. Right? If we don't talk that way in everyday life, and now we're just kind of copying and pasting, and even if you're adjusting that, it's still, there's enough indication there. But I still want you to play with this. You just got to be able to utilize it in the appropriate way. And I get it, we're all learning too. So this is the high level 20,000 foot of just the directions. I wanted to get this to you right away so that you can start working on it. And again, as posted, we've just got a couple more discussion boards to finish up. And this is the last major project you have to do for the course. So let's bring it home strong. If you have any questions, please make sure to reach out to me and we can address those. I will also be putting up the rubrics so you guys can see the breakdown. But again, for right now, as you can imagine, the areas of the written component and the areas underneath the slide deck, that is what you're going to need to worry about as far as probably the breakdown of what you're going to be graded on for the rubric. All right, guys, good luck. And I will continue to touch base here and there. But if there's any major questions, find time. Let's sit down. Let's go through what doesn't make sense. All right. Have a great day.